Cold, could see a widespread frost, but some sunshine to greet us as we start the week. But as we go through the course of the day, cloud and outbreaks of rain arrive in from the west, and that's going to herald the milder theme as we head towards Christmas Day itself. But unfortunately, it's going to come with a lot of cloud, so for most of us, it's going to be a grey Christmas this year rather than a white one.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting a call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. Amazing.
I'm shocked.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
But it turns out there's a growing number of grandparents who are now taking up the hobby.
And not all of them are male. 7 million gamers are aged over 50, 7 million of them. And we're going to introduce you to one this morning. Her name's Kath Bowie. She's 76 years of age, and Kath has become a worldwide star of the game Fortnite. Good to see you, Kath.
Hello, good morning to both of you.
Morning.
And tell me this, Kath, is Bowie your real name?
Bowie. Yeah.
Bowie.
Yeah, it is my real name, yes.
And you do it a Bowie and not a Bowie?
It's a Bowie, yes, definitely Bowie, yes.
Bowie or Bowie?
Bowie.
Bowie.
But that's not what the Jim Bowie was called, or Jim Bowie was called in the Alamo. He was a Bowie.
No, but that's what I'm called, Kath Bowie.
Oh, right.
She's their own superstar.
You are your own superstar. You are indeed. Well, so we're led to believe, Kath, that there's nobody else like you, or very few people like you, but there is. There is lots of people your age, your stage, doing what you do.
Yes, there's not a lot that streams. Okay, Fortnite, but there's definitely plenty that plays. Any game, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be Fortnite. It can be any game.
So Kath, how did you get started in all of this?
Oh, yeah, well, it's 7 years ago, actually. I walked into my teenage grandson's bedroom and just saw him playing what I now know, of course, what I play is Fortnite. And that was the very first week that Epic had released it. And it was just really love at first sight.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hello there and Merry Christmas. Coming up on this Saturday Night Showdown, remember Trump said they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. Well, in Britain, are they eating the swans? Footage emerged this week of a man taking a swan from a London park. We're not sure if he wants it as a pet or if he's saving money on a Christmas turkey. We'll show you that in a moment. And as Germany suffers another mass killing at the Christmas markets by a Middle Eastern immigrant, the outrage seems to be deflected towards the far right and Elon Musk, who don't want mass immigration. We were told that we need immigration because we need doctors. This guy apparently was a doctor. We ask, has the experiment in mass immigration and multiculturalism failed? And the NHS calendar of events for staff to recognise in 2025 has been released, and it includes 351 awareness days, awareness weeks and awareness months for things like Transgender Parent Day, Pansexual and Pan-Romantic Awareness and Visibility Day, Intersex Day of Solidarity, Transgender Day of Remembrance, a National Coming Out Day, and International Pronouns Day, and there's Gender Fluid Awareness Day as well. Listen, the only gender fluid the NHS should be dealing with should be mopped up by an orderly. If they have to celebrate all that, will nurses' knees buckle under the weight of their badges? And will doctors have any time to actually do any healthcare? This is your Saturday Night Showdown. Discussing all tonight's topics with me are my brilliant panel. Joining me tonight are dating guru Kezia Noble and the comedian Nicholas DeSanto. But first, let's get your latest news headlines from Sophia Wensler.
Leo, thank you. Good evening. It's just gone 8 o'clock. These are your headlines. A memorial service has taken place in Germany after at least 5 people, including a 9-year-old child, were killed when a car drove into crowds at a Christmas market in Magdeburg. German media are naming the alleged suspect as Talib al-Abdul Mohsen, a 50-year-old Saudi doctor with reported Islamophobic views. He's been arrested and faces charges of murder and attempted murder as Chancellor Olaf Scholz promises a full investigation. German prosecutors are saying the motive is still unclear, though the attackers' dissatisfaction of the treatment of Saudi refugees in Germany may have been a factor. Meanwhile, hundreds of protesters have gathered in the city centre following yesterday's attacks. Pictures show a large gathering of people with German flags in the crowds. Now, a man has been charged with murdering a teacher who was found dead in a South London flat on Thursday morning. Police were called on Thursday morning to reports of a woman found with injuries at an address at Nutfield Close in Carshalton. Gemma Devonish, who worked as a head of year at Rosebery School in Epsom, died at the scene. A 38-year-old man who was known to Miss Devonish was arrested and charged with her murder. James Madden will appear in custody at Croydon Magistrates Court on Monday. In other news, a 77-year-old Just Stop Oil activist has been returned to jail after problems with an electronic tag to monitor her. Gaia Delap was sentenced to 20 months in prison for being part of the group that blocked the M25 in November 2022. The grandmother from Bristol was released early on a home detention curfew, but it was not possible to attach an electronic tag to her ankle due to a health condition, so she's been recalled to prison. Now, time is running out for pensioners to claim pension credit and secure their winter fuel payment for 2024-2025, with the deadline just hours away. Online applications close at 11:59 p.m. and phone lines have already closed. Around 760,000 pensioners could miss out, with the benefit topping up weekly incomes and unlocking extra support. The change, announced by Chancellor Rachel Reeves, means winter fuel payments now go only to those on means-tested benefits, slashing recipients from 11.4 million to just 1.5 million. And wet, windy and wild, Christmas travel plans for millions could be blown off course this weekend. Yellow weather warnings for wind cover much of the UK, with gusts of up to 80 miles per hour forecast for Scotland and northern coastal areas. The weather has led to the cancellation of some ferry services, road closures, flight cancellations at Heathrow Airport and rail disruption. Winds will ease by Monday, though, and a mild and cloudy Christmas is on the cards for most of the UK. Those are the latest GB News headlines. More in an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sophia, and welcome to the Saturday Night Showdown. Now, last night's deadly terrorist attack on a German Christmas market by a Saudi Arabian refugee has once again raised questions about Europe's experiment with mass immigration and multiculturalism. But the mainstream media have been quick to try and deflect blame. Initial reports were that a car had driven itself into the crowd, raising concerns that this could be a self-driving car gone haywire. But no, this car was apparently driven by a real person, Saudi asylum seeker Talib al-Abdul Mohsen. Newspaper headlines then started claiming the attacker is an anti-Islamist who supports Israel. And they've said the attacker was a sympathiser with the AfD. That's Germany's far-right party who want to restrict immigration. And the media has also blamed the far-right for exploiting the attack to criticise Islam and immigration. Although I'm not sure the people saying maybe we shouldn't import people who keep killing us are far-right. Is anyone worried about the far-right? I'm not sure the diversity barriers designed to stop car attacks like this are there because of the far-right. Elon Musk came under fire because he's voiced support for the AfD. Germany's far-right party tweeting only the AfD can save Germany. But has Musk got a point? Voters are being pushed towards the AfD because they appear to be the only party who will do what the voters want. Now, I'm joined tonight by dating expert Kezia Noble and the comedian Nicholas DeSanto. Now, people keep criticising the AfD, saying they're disgusting, they hark back to the Nazis, but other parties don't seem to be offering a solution to this, Kezia.
There is no alternative anymore. You know, we've tried, Germany has also tried with the sort of much more in the middle, well, parties that say they're centre-right, they're not doing anything about immigration. So this is a reaction. This is just simply a reaction to... I mean, this is not the first time this has happened in Germany.
No, there have been some horrific attacks and similar attacks like this. In 2016, I believe there was one in which 13 people died. And, I mean, I'm just amazed that people are still willing to sacrifice children and women and innocent people on the altar of multiculturalism to say, well, you know, one day this is all going to work out. One day the attacks are going to stop.
I think multiculturalism was working to a certain point until we started letting in a lot of men from a particular area of the world. We have to be honest about that.
Yeah.
You know, multiculturalism, it's always had its ups and downs, but this is serious now.
Yeah.
This is children being killed on our streets.
Yeah.
And this man, a lot of people are saying, oh, but he was a right-wing sympathiser. Well, why didn't he attack a mosque?
Yeah, I mean...
Make it make sense for me, please.
Yeah, his actions don't align with what's being said about him, Nicholas, which is one of the things that, you know, I can't get my head around. People are saying... People are so quick to jump to blame, you know, the far right because he's tweeted before in support for the AfD. But this guy doesn't seem to be doing, you know, anything that, you know, a supposedly far-right person would be doing. He's behaving in the same manner as previous Islamist attacks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you need to judge him by what he has done, not by any presumably pro-AfD previous tweets. The thing is, the media, just like mainstream parties, are totally in denial. And that's why people go towards the likes of AfD. And by the way, what does far-right mean anyway? Anyone to the right of Boris Johnson nowadays is far-right. You say, we want to control our borders and we don't want to become a minority in our own ancestral homelands, and please do not groom and rape our little girls, and they call you far-right, or as some of our classic liberal friends recently call us, woke-right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And then when people like AfD in Germany, or Geert Wilders in the Netherlands, or Marine Le Pen in France do actually have the votes to govern and to make a difference, all other parties coalesce against them in a mathematical operation, not a political operation, and we see what is going on in France.
Well, yeah, and we saw in Italy, they even used the courts to try and stop Matteo Salvini. So he's the deputy prime minister in Italy, and he stopped the NGO boats. You've got these boats run by these, you know, shadily funded organisations who go and pick up, you know, the migrants, the cross-channel migrants, or in that case, the cross-Mediterranean migrants who want to come to Europe, and they bring them to Italy. So, you know, it's almost like a taxi service for people who want to just come into Europe. And they took him to court. They prosecuted him, saying, you know, it was like kidnapped by stopping these boats docking, which was the will of the Italian people. They were elected to stop the mass immigration. They prosecuted him, saying, I think the charge was something related to kidnapping. Now, luckily, yesterday he was acquitted. So, I mean, luckily that's a bit of good news that, you know, he's not going to jail for doing his job. But it's terrifying. I think people have just reached the point where they're sick of this and they don't want... I mean, I saw this year with the Southport killings. I was like, I don't really care what it takes. I don't think it... Exactly. I think we're past the point of being polite. We're past the point of singing "Don't look back in anger."
Europe has lost its nerve. Europe has lost its nerve. This is not Europe from 100 years ago, 50 years ago. We've lost our nerve, and we have to close the borders. That's it now. We have to start bringing back something called temporary work visas. What is wrong with that concept?
Yeah.
OK, if you're going to work in the NHS, or if you're going to work as a fireman or police officer, fine. But temporary work visas.
And of course, I've got to point out that, you know, it's only a tiny minority of people who come across into Europe who go on to do something like this.
Doesn't matter. It's too many people. It's not if it's beyond that. It's just too much pressure now. It's like a lot of people are just saying, well, just stop these people. No, we have to stop nearly everybody now coming in, because we cannot cope with it. Our infrastructure can't cope with it. We can't get GP appointments. You can't get your child into the local school.
Absolutely. I mean, those who commit terrorism might be a tiny minority, but the pressure on the resources, the low-trust society, the sectarian violence, the FGM, the honor killings, the cousin marriage, all sorts of dynamics and problematics, then you cannot call it a tiny minority.
Yeah, and of course there could be much closer scrutiny on people who are here. I mean, this man seemed to be a wrong-un who fell through the cracks, because even Saudi Arabia wanted to extradite him, apparently, for various crimes.
And they were warned by this woman who said she gave them a heads up that he was up to something. They just ignored it. What's going on here?
And he openly posted about killing civilians.
If he had been right-wing, he would have been locked up straight away.
Well, there's so much scrutiny on anything that could be perceived to be right-wing, because we're still living under this sort of false paradigm of critical race theory and diversity, equity and inclusion. So there's got to be so much focus on this sort of illusion of a right-wing menace. But I genuinely haven't seen much of a far-right menace. I've just seen people who are angry about
and have a right to be angry. People have to be. Germans have to be angry about what happened. No look back in anger or anything like that. No lighting candles, because what they do is they light candles, sing a song, and they keep the borders open.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Shut the borders.
And of course, concern over mass immigration isn't just because of the steady tick of high-profile attacks committed by a minority of fanatics. A report in the Daily Mail this week revealed that Labour are housing illegal immigrants in 220 hotels across the country. The numbers in the report are staggering. There are at least 36,000 migrants housed in these hotels. That's an increase of over a fifth since the election, and it's costing the taxpayer several billion pounds a year, and that amount is going up. And this is despite Labour's manifesto pledge to end asylum hotels, saving the taxpayer billions of pounds. Every part of the UK now has at least one hotel housing migrants. This is part of Labour's Operation Scatter, which pledges to spread migrants around the country. Angela Rayner said that this was to ensure each part of the country took their fair share of the migrants. But I'm not sure there is a fair share when it's something that people haven't asked for. But is there an ulterior motive here? Migrants tended to conglomerate in cities, but cities have diverse populations which already vote Labour. Labour know that when the migrants are settled and registered to vote, they tend to vote Labour. By pushing migrants out to every part of the country, are Labour pushing them into Tory constituencies and thus tilting the electoral arithmetic and making those areas more likely to switch from Tory to Labour? Now, integration to the communities they've been dumped in isn't going too smoothly either. According to the Daily Mail, a video posted online shows two signs in one hotel lobby warning migrants not to touch children without the permission of their parents. I mean, how about maybe just not touching children at all? I'm a parent. I don't want to have that conversation. I don't want to be asked by a migrant in a hotel if they can touch my children. And who are the parents saying, yes, go right ahead, touch my children? Now, do you think, Nicholas, do you think Operation Scatter is going to backfire? Because, I mean, I was up in Dumfries recently, which is where I grew up. And they've got a migrant hotel there now, and it's been causing some ructions. They had to tell, I think the police had to go up and tell the people running the migrant hotel not to, to tell them not to come down and hang around outside the school and various things. Not that, I'm suggesting anything untoward was going on, but just because it was, some of the children found it intimidating. So it's suddenly, thrust this issue into the lives of people who previously were really removed from it.
Absolutely. I mean, how about not importing hundreds of thousands of people with values which are at best very different, at worst totally incompatible and hostile towards ours? You know, and again, this is a European problem. The situation in Germany is, again, the gift of Angela Merkel, which keeps giving what she did in 2015, opening the floodgates of immigration, saying, "Oh, we can make it," and the results are quite clear. Which, of course, she did with good intentions. She wanted to, provide solace to these people fleeing. Well, we can give her the benefit of doubt, but it was a very unwise move. And the point is, as you were pointing out, democracy has totally lost meaning because they are not abiding by the rules of the game. They know that people of some minimum degree of sanity don't vote for them anymore, so they import their voters. Why do you think the Democrats in the US opened the floodgates of immigrants from southern border? Because they hope to amnesty all of these and then creating this sort of political clientelism, gain future voters for themselves.
Which is completely correct, but what I find weird about this is most of this happened under the Conservatives, who weren't going to be voted for. I mean, it just seems, were they just incompetent? Were they politically suicidal? I don't understand.
They just wanted to push up GDP, and then it makes it look like the economy's doing well. But Operation Scatter is going to be a massive backfire. I love it because what's happening is all contained in London and Birmingham and the big cities. So these migrant hotels are very inconspicuous. You know, I see them around, but most people are not aware, but I see lots of migrants hanging around outside hotels. It's much more obvious if it's in a small rural village or a small town. And now, I'm glad about this, it's spilling over. It's not contained in the cities. There's so many migrant men now that it's literally spilling over into towns and into the rural areas. And now suddenly all these people who used to like to vote Lib Dem and all this, and, oh, I love immigration because they're not anywhere near it, are freaking out now. Fabulous. Let's get on with Operation Scatter. Let's do it.
It sounds like it is going to backfire on them. Well, coming up, we will assess the week's winners and losers. This week, former Scottish leader Humza Yousaf quits politics, which is a shame. I was looking forward to him getting voted out. And migrants are taking geese, swans and fish from our parks, according to some people. Should we also see our parks as a pick-your-own-farm as well? See you in a moment.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Joined by international life coach Cheryl Findlay, who has joined forces with a Liverpool business owner, Kate Hill, of sustainable sportswear brand Lola Star, to empower women and inspire women across the nation. And to celebrate this partnership with the new Lola Star collection, the two will be hosting an exclusive event next Saturday.
The sportswear brand was launched after, well, your story. You lost how much weight? So 16 stone, which is over 220 pounds, which I know is quite significant. But during that kind of decade-long journey, I learned a lot about myself. And I learned a lot about what it takes to be successful, to be happy, to be well, and to just live an incredible life every day.
Are you giving them goals to work towards or helping them structure their life?
Yeah, so I don't give out goals, absolutely not. It's all about whatever an individual wants. So what we do to begin with is we understand, like, where are you now? Where are you thriving? Where do you feel really happy and excited in your life? And what's lacking? Like, where would you like to feel better? Where would you like to improve? And then we take it from there.
I'd love to take that on board. I'd love to be my true self and fulfil my potential. So have you got any practical tips on how to do that?
Yeah, so we start with clarity, right? Like, you need to know, it's such a busy, fast-paced world we live in. There's so much sensory overload. You know, it'd be so easy to be distracted. So we need to kind of quiet all that noise down and start with, where do I want to focus? Pick 2 or 3 things. Where do I want to focus? And then we define the goal. What would I like that area of my life to look, not just look like, but feel like? And then we take it from there. So that's where you would start. I actually had a cancer diagnosis in 2019. And I just decided if I was going to be lucky enough to be on the other side of it, I wasn't going to play small anymore.
GB News, the people's...
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Night Showdown. It's now time to go through the winners and losers of the week. Scotland's former First Minister, Humza Yousaf, has decided enough is enough damage and is stepping down from politics. He said he wants to take a role on the global stage. Does Humza Yousaf know that he's Humza Yousaf? He seems to think he's Hillary Clinton. Mate, you're the former leader of our little nationalist party in a provincial parliament of a country with a population the quarter the size of Cairo. Nobody, apart from me, has ever even heard of you. He's announced that he wants to help bring about world peace. Sounds like a Miss World contestant. My dream is world peace and a dolphin sanctuary. Humza didn't even last a year as Scotland's First Minister, and his time in politics has been one cataclysm after another. From his hate crime law that destroyed the SNP as a serious political force, to falling off a scooter. In 2019, the SNP won 40 seats in the Houses of Parliament in Scotland, in the Houses of Parliament in Britain. That cratered to just 9 seats in 2024. Now, he's stepping down. This is obviously because he didn't really have a great chance of getting re-elected next time round.
Well, talk about a political smart move for a change, right? Looks like he has pulled the Jacinda Ardern move because she did the same thing, basically depriving her opponents of having the satisfaction to vote her out. Yeah. And now he's done the same thing. So
yeah. I mean, I should say I've got a little bit of bias because I stood against Humza Yousaf for election.
Oh,
and
really?
He won that time round quite resoundingly.
What's he done that's good, actually, this guy?
Well, I ran against him just to sort of highlight his hate crime law. That was when he was Justice Minister for the SNP, and his hate crime law is just the most ridiculous thing. Under this law, like, anybody can be, like, if you perceive something to be hateful, then they can be investigated by the police. And it completely backfired on him when when the law became active on April the 1st of this year. Had to be April Fool's Day. When it became active, the number one complaint was about Humza Yousaf. And he gave a speech. He gave a speech in Parliament, basically criticising Scotland for having a lot of white people in positions of power. But Scotland's a pretty white country, so you're going to have white people in positions of power. It'd be weird if Scotland was run by Papua New Guinean tribesmen.
So this, yeah, that would be weird. So this hate law, does it apply to people who hate Israel?
No, obviously there's going to be carve-outs for any woke
Zionists,
issues.
Those ones. Yep, okay, they're not on the list. They're fair game. Yeah. I don't know anything good that this Humza. They call him Humza Useless, don't they? I don't know. Oh.
Well, he is. He is the first non-white leader of Scotland.
But I don't care. It's like, has he done anything that was beneficial for Scotland? Not that I even care about what's happening in Scotland, to be honest. I'm living in England.
Maybe there's some good things hidden in the small print.
Yeah.
But it's certainly...
In the small print, very small print.
His big moves weren't very good. But then he was part of the SNP, and the SNP didn't do very much for Scotland. I remember they launched, they wasted lots of public money, tens of millions of pounds, building these new ferries. They launched them, and at the launch, the ferries had painted on windows. They hadn't actually finished the ferries. It was like something from a farce. It was ridiculous.
Carry-on movie.
A carry-on movie.
Well, if nothing else, he will go down in history for the biggest number of the word white in a speech at the Parliament.
I mean, this was at the peak. This was at the peak of sort of, the critical race theory mania and BLM. Everybody was taking the knee, and it seemed, it was very de rigueur to attack white people for being white. But yeah, he really took it to the next level. And I'm not sure long-term if it endeared him to the Scottish people who are quite white.
Yeah. Did he take the knee? I bet he did.
I'm sure he has at some point.
We've got photographs galore.
I mean,
Keir Starmer did.
He has some family links to Gaza, right?
Oh, God.
Now that he has free time, he can maybe help mediate towards that long-awaited armistice, ceasefire.
Well, honestly...
No, he can go there and he can help the
honestly, if Hamza Yusuf brings about peace in the Middle East, I will take back everything I've said about him. That will be some achievement. Now, Donald Trump warned Americans somewhat erroneously this year that illegal immigrants were eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. Now in Britain, are they eating the swans as well? We're told that one of the benefits of mass immigration is the delicious food and the delicious recipes they bring with them. With Christmas a few days away, could immigrants be suggesting a replacement for the traditional Christmas turkey? Footage emerged this week of an alleged immigrant taking a swan from a London park.
This guy just cracked the duck's neck, bro, and taking it.
Honestly, that guy's got some neck. Personally, I can't see any evidence that he's an immigrant, and I think he could be rescuing the swan. And also, I don't think that one's dead. Maybe he just wants it as a pet. But it's reignited a furore over immigrants allegedly eating the animals that we see as ornamental. The ducks, geese, fish, and now swans in our public parks. A decade ago, the RSPCA were warning that immigrants may be behind swan attacks. The RSPCA wouldn't do that now, of course, because they'd be accused of racism by their own DEI department. And there are pictures on Twitter of these two gentlemen gently grabbing some swans. It's worth noting that the police have denied that the swans have been harmed. A police spokesman said, as is often the case with social media posts, they spread far and wide, and certain groups use the information to put their own spin on events without having any evidence at all to back up what they're saying. A lot of people then believe what they're reading as fact, when in reality, that isn't the case. These groups put their own spin on stories to generate likes and shares, to promote themselves and to cause harm and disruption to the communities they don't live in and have no association with. Exactly. I could not agree more with the police here. We don't know if that man just wanted the swan to roam around his garden, or if he was in a relationship with the swan, or if he saw a 12th century Viscount approaching with an axe and wanted to make sure the swan wasn't eaten. Now, could it be time for us to embrace these ideas? I know people used to eat swans in the old days. I think you had to be royalty. And swans are basically big chickens. Are these people showing us the future? One swan could feed a lot more people than one chicken.
They are showing us the future if we don't do something about it. Right? I don't want to see this. I don't want to see swans being killed or attacked or just... I don't know, whatever they're doing with these swans. And I also would like to do a deep dive. I don't want to just hear these are migrants. Whereabouts are they from? Are they from Italy? Are they Italian migrants? Are they Japanese migrants? Where are they from?
So you want to see what the actual recipe is?
No, I want to find out.
Is it being served with spaghetti?
No, I want to find out where they are from, these people. Migrants could mean anyone, right?
Yeah.
Let's find out where they're from.
And we don't even know if it's...
And I think I've got a... I saw that picture. I've got an idea where they're from.
But we don't even know if they are migrants. And to be honest, I mean, growing up in the countryside, like, we're driving home one night and my dad found a deer that had been hit by a car. It was still warm, so he cut its leg off and took it home. And, you know, coming down to London, when I went to the park, I was like, look at all these free ducks. So maybe, you know, maybe we are missing.
Maybe we are missing something here, but that police statement, I think, is a giveaway because they didn't deny this story. They just went on, you know, philosophizing about, yeah, well, sometimes people blow things out of proportion. Yeah, but what is happening here? The fact that they are too scared to touch the story and to get to the bottom of it, that speaks volumes, doesn't it?
You know, it sort of reminded me of the statements the police put out, you know, when there is a terror attack or something like that. You know, the most important thing they always push is, you know, you shouldn't speculate, you shouldn't, you know, you've got no proof. We don't know until we do know, and you know.
We all know.
Yeah, but yeah, we kind of all know.
We know.
And then
it is a terrorist
the point is they don't want to know, and then even when they get to the bottom of this, they try to whitewash it and all that. The only positive thing here is that again the Brits seem to be fancier because even they're migrants rather than going after cats and dogs, go after swans. So this feeds into the stereotypes that the transatlantic cousins perceive Brits as, you know.
We get a higher quality of migrant with more refined taste. Anyway, next on the Saturday Night Showdown, the BBC are refusing to play a charity record, Freezing This Christmas, which mocks Keir Starmer. It's like the Sex Pistols all over again. Plus, the NHS have released their calendar of events for staff to recognise next year, and it's ridiculous. there's Gender Fluid Awareness Day and International Pronouns Day. Stay tuned for that nutcase stuff. See you in a moment.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. We're looking ahead to Christmas after a cold and very windy day on Sunday. The weather does look like it's settling down towards Christmas itself, and for all of us feeling a good deal milder. But before we get there, we still have this area low pressure close by. Note the tightly packed isobars indicating some very windy weather, especially across more northern and western parts. We do have warnings in force throughout Sunday, so if you do have any travel plans, do allow some extra time for your journeys. Away from the wind, we'll see plenty of showers moving in, especially across more northern parts where we'll see some of the showers turn into sleet and snow, especially across the high ground. So we could just see a little bit of ice around first thing on Sunday. But for most, really, Sunday is going to be a day of sunshine and scattered showers. The far north of Scotland, however, we could just see a longer spell of rain arriving here. And again, that could potentially be a bit of a mix of rain, sleet and snow. But back to showers really for Northern Ireland and Northern England. Again, across the high ground, easily going to be falling as sleet and snow. Similar story for Wales, but I think for many southern parts of England, any showers will be falling mainly as rain. And then moving towards the afternoon, very little changes. I think the best of the brightest weather will be across parts of East Anglia and the southeast of England. And for all of us, with the winds coming in from the northwest, it's going to be feeling a bitterly cold day. Could still see gales or severe gales in the north, and factor in the strength of the wind. Temperatures on a thermometer could get up as high as 7 degrees, but probably close to freezing for some of us as you add on that wind. So Monday starts off pretty cold, could see a widespread frost, but some sunshine to greet us as we start the week. But as we go through the course of the day, cloud and outbreaks of rain arrive in from the west, and that's going to herald the milder theme as we head towards Christmas Day itself. But unfortunately, it's going to come with a lot of clouds. So for most of us, it's going to be a grey Christmas this year rather than a white one.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Now, a song mocking Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has made it to the top of the downloads and sales charts, but unfortunately has just missed out on the Christmas #1. This is Freezing This Christmas by parody act Sir Starmer and the Granny Harmers. It's raised a lot of money for charities supporting the elderly over winter, and it uses the same melody as the 70s Yuletide hit Lonely This Christmas by Mud, who thankfully haven't sued, or those charities wouldn't be getting very much money.
It'll be freezing this Christmas while Keir Starmer's warm.
The Grinches at the BBC refused to give the song any airtime on their channels, but as the Sex Pistols and Frankie Goes to Hollywood showed, getting banned by the BBC doesn't necessarily do you any harm. The BBC banned the Sex Pistols' iconic song God Save the Queen, deeming it in gross bad taste, and they also banned Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Relax from their broadcast, deeming it obscene. Both songs were smash hits anyway. Now, what do you make of this? Do you think the BBC should be a bit less grinchy and just play the song?
They have, in their explanation, they have said we play what our audiences want to hear, which a bit sounds North Korean-y.
North Korean-y?
Yeah, because they decide what people want to... I mean, the song is a hit, it's topping the charts, so it looks like your audiences...
Yeah, surely the audience want to listen to it, Kezia.
Song's rubbish, but anyway,
it's a great song. You know, the first time I heard it, I thought this isn't very good. Now
it's a clever song.
I can't get it out of my head.
But look, to be fair to the BBC, the same thing happened when Margaret Thatcher, that song came out, The Witch is Dead.
Oh, yeah?
They wouldn't play that. There was a song about Boris Johnson, I think back in 2019, they wouldn't play that. So I'm just being fair to the BBC here. I don't care. Let it play, you know, put it on the radio.
But the Maggie Thatcher song, that's glorying.
Worse.
That's glorying in somebody's death.
No,
whereas this is raising money for charity. I mean, you know.
Oh, is it? I didn't realise that.
Yeah, with Starmer taking
fair
away.
enough. I didn't realise that. It was
because Labour took away fuel, you know, the fuel allowance from
Yes, I heard about
elderly
that.
people. So yeah, so now, you know, some of them are really struggling.
No, I didn't realise that it was raising money for charity. That makes, okay, then they should be paying.
And another grinchy thing the BBC are doing is they're threatening to come to people's homes. Somebody got a letter through the door saying, will you be in on the 25th of December? Because we've noticed you don't have a TV licence, and they're threatening to come on Christmas Day. Yeah. Like, you couldn't, this is like
Can't
a Dickensian.
enter your house. They can't enter your house, though.
Yeah, especially not, but on Christmas Day they can come down the chimney, surely.
Yes, apart from, but most people don't have a chimney now. Most people don't have a house.
Yeah, or a TV licence.
They also played Step Down Margaret. So if you want to make comparisons, this is a mocking of Keir Starmer for his policies and so many electoral promises broken. So in 1980, they famously played that song, Step Down Margaret.
Yeah.
So it's a different story when Margaret Thatcher is dead and people are playing something which is, you know, in bad taste because you're celebrating the death of somebody. But in this case, where's the harm?
This is celebrating the life of our elderly people and how it could be taken away.
The BBC are not unbiased. They are left-leaning.
Well, just to provide balance, I would say the BBC are very unbiased. Moving on, for most of us, gender fluid is just something we have to wipe off our laptop. But for the NHS, it's something they have to spend taxpayers' money celebrating. The NHS calendar of events for staff to recognise in 2025 has been released, and it includes 351 awareness days, awareness weeks, and awareness months for things like gender fluid awareness and transgender parent day. With so many LGBTQ events to recognise, will NHS staff even have time to carry out essential tasks like doing dances on TikTok? Some of the awareness days that NHS staff are being asked to celebrate relate to religious festivals such as Eid, and some relate to health issues such as dementia or heart disease, which are relevant to the NHS. But dozens of these days relate to LGBTQ issues. There's Pansexual and Pan-Romantic Awareness and Visibility Day. There's an Intersex Day of Solidarity. There's a Transgender Day of Remembrance, where we remember all the transgender people who fell at Dunkirk. There's a National Coming Out Day, and there's an International Pronouns Day. An NHS insider told the Daily Telegraph the main issue is excessive airtime for awareness days for trans people and their gender identities and rules, and these are riddled with falsehoods about being more likely to be victims of murder or discrimination, the source said. And if you challenge it, you're deemed a bigot. And the chief executive of charity LGB Alliance, Kate Barker, told The Telegraph, instead of celebrating made-up pronouns, the NHS should be raising awareness of the scandal of unevidenced experimental medicalisation of gender-distressed young people. However, what the NHS doesn't have in its calendar is marking Detransition Awareness Day on March 12th, which would be a welcome step in ending the irreversible damage often inflicted by the NHS itself on youth who are otherwise likely to grow up happily gay or lesbian. Now, this seems to be a huge waste of time and resources. 351 awareness days and weeks and months. I mean, that's almost more than there are days in the year.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit fed up with these awareness days of anything that we're not aware of. Like, if we're aware of it, we don't need awareness days, right? I think now, like, everyone's aware that there are people who transition, that people are uncomfortable in their bodies. We know about it, and I think most of us are sympathetic. You know, we're not... If you met somebody who was trans, you would not treat them any differently. You would not.
Well, it depends how much effort they've put in.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously we've got to say that, you know, for some people, these days will provide solace. They'll be like, you know, personally, I'm a massive fan of lanky Scottish People Day of Visibility.
What day is that?
It's every day in my house.
St Andrew's Day.
Fair enough.
But I mean, this seems to be distracting the NHS from their core duties at a time when, you know, apparently budgets are stretched.
Like anything but actually curing people, right? From the people who brought to you choreographed TikTok dances at the height of the pandemic.
Yeah.
now to this one. It's become like an ideology that has penetrated, you know, NHS has become Britain's official religion almost.
It is,
right?
yeah. Goodness, it
It's
is.
dealing with pronouns, dealing with people's sexual orientation. That is none of NHS's business. They just need to, for a service that constantly claims to be underfunded and understaffed.
And also, it doesn't seem fair that they've got so many days for transgender issues, but they don't do anything for detransitioners, which, I mean, this is a growing problem. This is people who feel that they've been, you know, wrongly led into the path of transitioning, you know, particularly, you know, young people when they're more vulnerable and easily influenced. And now they're having to detransition. So this is a health issue that the NHS is dealing with, and it also fits into the LGBTQ spectrum. So I'm amazed that they're not celebrating it, but recognising it.
Yeah. OK, but I don't want any more awareness days. I've already said that. I'm done up to here of awareness days. OK, yes, I've heard of this.
Would you like to see more?
I do think this is all a distraction. I think it's a distraction even from the people who hate on this. It's like just... There's other things that we need to be focused on right now about whether somebody wants to dress up as a woman or not. Like, we need to focus on much bigger things because this is still a minority. And on the other side, the whole thing about, oh, it must be recognised, there must be like a transsexual in every single movie that comes out. I also think that is like, you know, too much. It's just like, accept that they're here.
Yeah.
Treat them with respect, OK? And that's it. Let's all move on and focus on the important things that are affecting our day-to-day life and well-being.
Well, we have a similar DEI policy here. So this panel actually has a transgender person on it right now. I can tell you, it's me. I'm a woman tonight. Anyway, next on the Saturday Night Showdown, a maths teacher forces his pupils to pretend that they're gay. And who would win in a fight between a drunk tourist in his pants and 7 Thai policemen? Find out in a moment.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Storm Dino so clears, but it remains often cloudy and sometimes windy around coastal areas, particularly for the Canary Islands and Madeira. A fairly strong northwesterly flow dragging in some cloud and some outbreaks of rain at times. Fairly settled across Portugal and Spain, but as we move further east, cloudy with some showers at times, particularly for Rome and at times parts of Greece. But it generally looks like it's improving by the time we reach the middle of the week, with the best of the temperatures across Madeira.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Maria, potholes are the bane of everybody that uses the road, whether you're a car driver or a cyclist. As a cyclist, are even worse. How have we got into this situation where our roads are in such a bad state?
Well, part of it is to do with actually our climate. In somewhere like, say, Sweden, like the snow will fall on the ground, it will stay there for months. Whereas here we've got what's called a freeze-thaw climate, where the water comes down, then we might have a cold snap and it freezes, and the water within the pothole will then expand and make the pothole bigger. Then we might have a mild spell, and then that process repeats. So, you know, we do actually need extra funding to acknowledge the fact that, you know, we just live in a climate where we're sort of particularly vulnerable to potholes.
Why? I mean, you know, the fact that this happens, these weather conditions happen, is no great surprise to anybody. Why has the problem been ignored for so long?
I think what's happened is we've had like short-term funding. So it's like, oh, there's a pothole, let's patch it up. Oh, there's another one, let's patch it up. But the patches aren't actually really that strong, so then they break down again. So, you know, really what we need is to have roads completely resurfaced, and then they'll just be pothole-free for a very long time. And that really is how funding should be. That's the direction funding should go in, as opposed to just sort of like dribs and drabs here and there.
Do you think this government are going to be good for the motorist, or is there indeed a war on the motorist still?
The different parties come in and they've all got different policies that they wheel out, then they cancel the policies, and then there's so much lack of transparency. Like, for example, with the pothole issue, sometimes the government, whichever government is in office, will do some big showboating about how they're going to give X amount of potholes, and you still think that sounds really good.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Now we know that California doesn't have the best mathematics skills because they're still counting votes from the election. Apparently it's taking so long because they're only going to count one vote every 3 days and they've already run out of fingers. But why are Californians so bad at maths? Or, as they call it, math. Well, this might be the reason. A math teacher in California this week was caught ordering his class to be gay and have a coming out session. No matter what their sexuality was, they were ordered to pretend to be gay and to come out to everyone else in the class. Students at Rancho Buena Vista High School were given a diversity, equity and inclusion exercise last month in a class designed to teach them how to be socially current, whatever that means. Students were told, stand in a circle. Each of you is now gay or lesbian, and you're about to begin your coming out process. You cannot talk for the rest of the activity. The assignment prompted 7 students to walk out of the classroom. I mean, this is deeply inappropriate. Why is sexuality being forced on school kids like this? I always find, the LGBTQ stuff, like, absolutely fine. I think kids should be taught, some people are going to have 2 mums, some people are going to have two dads, whatever, is normal. But why actually, the coming out process and stuff like that, why actually push that into kids, especially in a maths class?
Yes, what does it have to do with mathematics exactly? I'm trying to do like an unusual sort of form of algebra or something. Look, this guy might have had good intentions. Like you said, it's important that children are taught that you're going to encounter little kids with 2 moms or 2 dads. You must be respectful to them. But it's not his place to do it because he is a maths teacher.
Yeah.
This is not his place. And I found it very interesting that 7 pupils walked out. That wouldn't have happened about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, but also
too much social pressure
we can't be sure that 7 pupils walked out because it doesn't sound like anybody in that maths class was getting skills to be able to count. It could have been any number.
Absolutely. But again, it's just a part of an all-out assault on tradition and traditional values and institutions. It used to be, okay, well, some people are gay, but that's just the way they are, and let's be respectful. And It used to be, what happens between 2 consenting adults in their bedroom doesn't concern you, so why bother? Live and let live. But then soon the slippery slope, right? It evolved into bake me this cake or I'll take you to prison, even though, you are a Christian pâtissière, and then we want to get married in your church or else. And now mathematics teacher or math teacher forcing people to come out. I mean, I understand that anybody in this day and age who decides to teach children or teenagers might have a meltdown or breakdown at some point.
It does
but
sort
this
of
is too
suggest
much.
that there's an issue across academia, across the whole, the arena of learning.
I have a 9-year-old, and I always teach him, you must respect gay people and so forth. But what I'm hearing amongst his classmates, which is very interesting, is that it's like a kind of backlash. Now they're going against millennials like me with these liberal ideas, and they're actually starting to say things which I'm quite shocked about. You shouldn't say things like that, but it's
the rebelling against
the rebelling against the millennial parent, which I am. So they're rebelling against that. So it's going in the other direction, the more traditional direction.
Thank God for that.
Because they pushed it on them too much.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like me,
so if you push too far, the pendulum swings back.
We are going against our boomer parents who are like very traditional. It's like, no, I want to be like liberal and open-minded. Now the Generation Alpha, not Gen Z, Generation Alpha, which are like from 12 lower, they are rebelling against that woke ideology.
Yeah.
Because they don't like it forced on them.
And
So that's why I was questioning about the 7 kids that walked out. I find that very interesting.
Well, I think young people can also see through any ideology and see reality. Well, the entire nation of Thailand was apparently unable to defeat one drunk Russian man. Footage emerged this week of a drunk man, apparently a Russian tourist, in Thailand taking on 7 police officers. Let's see who wins. This is incredible. It's like a scene from Gulliver's Travels. So he's in his underpants. It's clearly warm. Oh my God, he seems quite angry. And so they're trying to take him down. They're all armed with batons. They've got the full tactical gear, but they don't seem to be having much luck. And I think that's his wife and kids. But don't worry, they are Russian, so they are used to this behaviour. Dad's drunk, running around semi-naked, doing flying kicks against Thai police officers. But that's incredible. He's actually got a guy on his back right now in a chokehold. He's got another guy whacking his legs, still going. Rumours have it that he's still going. Those guys are armed and they still can't bring him down. I mean, I guess it's reassuring that if Thailand did ever decide to invade Britain, we just need a few drunk guys in their pants.
Have you been to Russia?
I've been to Belarus.
Well, I've been to Russia, the motherland, for quite a few times. And the Russians are built differently.
Right.
They are tough.
They're tanks.
They are hard.
Yeah.
And you see it in a lot of the Soviet countries, like you see it probably in Serbia and places like that. But the Russians are something else. And do you remember there were the British football hooligans? And I think this was like about 10 years ago. And I can't remember which country it was in. But then the Russian hooligans came. Oh, my goodness. It was another
Marseille
level.
or Montpellier.
Yes.
I remember. But the thing is, the Russian...
Goodness.
We lock up our best football hooligans. Russia trains them. They get state training and funding because it's almost like a proxy war. The Cold War is still continuing via the medium of football violence.
If they can run out of soldiers, they can always count on the reserves of hooligans. But the positive side to take away from this story is that for once it's not a British stag do reveler, you know, because usually these are the kind of stories you hear coming from Prague or Thailand.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I'm pleased about that aspect.
Anyway, up next tonight, it's Ben Leo Tonight. What have you got for us this evening, Ben?
Leo, hello. Breaking in the last few hours, the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, reckons teachers should be allowed to work from home in order to solve the recruitment crisis in education. Elsewhere, do you remember Bill Gates was loitering around Downing Street before the budget? Nobody knows what he was doing there. The government wouldn't explain what his intentions were. We've got some new documents which go one step closer to maybe clearing up the picture and providing some answers.
What could Bill Gates be up to? Well, I can't wait to find out. Anyway, thanks to my brilliant panel tonight. Kezia Noble, the dating guru. If you want to find out her dating tips, you can check her out online. And we've got Nicholas DeSanto, the comedian. Have you got any gigs coming up?
Yeah, next month I'll be in Bromley. People can check my Twitter account or my
so check
YouTube
Nicholas
channel.
out on Twitter. You can see him live. And we'll see you again in the new year, I hope. And don't forget headliners as well tonight at 11 p.m. And have a great Christmas if I don't see you before then. Goodbye.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. We're looking ahead to Christmas after a cold and very windy day on Sunday. The weather does look like it's settling down towards Christmas itself, and for all of us feeling a good deal milder. But before we get there, we still have this area low pressure close by. Note the tightly packed isobars indicating some very windy weather, especially across more northern and western parts. We do have warnings in force throughout Sunday, so if you do have any travel plans, do allow some extra time for your journeys. Away from the wind, we'll see plenty of showers moving in, especially across more northern parts where we'll see some of the showers turn into sleet and snow, especially across the high ground. So we could just see a little bit of ice around first thing on Sunday. But for most, really, Sunday is going to be a day of sunshine and scattered showers. The far north of Scotland, however, we could just see a longer spell of rain arriving here. And again, that could potentially be a bit of a mix of rain, sleet and snow. But back to showers, really.